Hey guys, it's Mike here, and welcome to another video I'm going to be bringing you today, in which I'm going to be asking a question regarding Dragon Ball Super, and regarding the next upcoming Toriyama arc of the series. And that question today that I'm going to be asking is, will the Universe Survival arc redeem Dragon Ball Super as a series? And a lot of you may be asking, what do I mean by this? What do I mean by redeeming the series? Well, for a lot of people, Dragon Ball Super really seems to be everything that they want from Dragon Ball, with fights, the characters returning, and just seeing new stories set in the universe. But for a lot of other people with a more critical eye, Dragon Ball Super has not really been as up to par as they were hoping. And there's a lot of great arguments as to why this is the case. For example, starting off the series with two remakes of two movies that we had just seen in recent years, but done in a stretched out format with inferior animation, which in and of itself was not really as good as the movies in many regards and many respects. But then the stories that we've seen so far in terms of actual storytelling have not really reached the same levels of Dragon Ball Z for the most part, with the exception of perhaps the Zamasu and Future Trunks arc of Dragon Ball Super, which itself had a ending which was incredibly polarizing and many people downright hated. So for a lot of people, and even a lot of people who really enjoy this series, there seems to be a consensus that this series is really not as good as the previous two series that came in chronological order before it. And a lot of people who are big fans of even Dragon Ball GT will say Dragon Ball GT itself is even better, which would mean that in that case, Dragon Ball Super is arguably the weakest series in the Dragon Ball franchise thus far. So with that being said, will this next upcoming arc, the Universe Survival arc, be able to redeem Dragon Ball Super as a series and really make it step up to that next level of quality as Toriyama has written in the past with Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z? Or will this next upcoming arc just be another arc that really ends up being wasted potential in the end and really could have been that much better had many different decisions been taken that ultimately were not? Well, I feel like this arc, from what we've seen so far with the promotional materials, might already kind of be on the right track. For example, this upcoming arc is not going to be just another random arc, but it's an arc that's already been built up until this point, and that seems to be this Omniversal tournament, or at least in this case, Multiversal tournament arc, as, you know, the Omniverse is now comprised of many different timelines as opposed to merely just 12 universes in the fictional world of Dragon Ball. And instead of just the 5-man team from the last time, it seems that they're going to be using 10-man teams from all the different universes which will be gathered. Now, right off the bat, that is really good in terms of character utilization, which is something that Dragon Ball has really kind of lacked in terms of, like, being able to do it to the optimal degree since Dragon Ball Z, and more specifically since the, end of the Cell saga, because, once the Buu saga rolled around, pretty much every character who wasn't a Saiyan, or maybe Piccolo, was useless at that point, and Buu was just introduced at that point as, the villain. So it pretty much was all about the Goku, Vegeta, and maybe Gohan show, but then Gohan kind of got thrown to the wayside like every other character. And Dragon Ball Super has kind of helped a little bit in that regard, like with the Multiversal tournament, the Universe 6 tournament that we saw before between Champa and Beerus, which most of the characters from that team are actually here in this arc right now, with Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, and Majin Buu, and apparently Manaka's not involved for some reason. But there is also going to be 6 other characters who are going to be taking part. 6 other characters who, 4 of them are mainstays of the Z Fighters now, and 2 of them are going to be kind of interesting wildcards. Those 2 being Android 17, who is now finally returning, and Master Roshi, who, oddly enough, is going to be on this team, and I'm not sure in terms of his actual power how that'll make sense. I mean, it's cool to see Master Roshi fighting, I guess, but in terms of like overall, I really don't know if it makes the most sense to have him involved instead of like Yamcha, but Yamcha's a meme now, so apparently it won't matter. But right off the bat, we could see that they're going to have 10 characters involved in this team, involved in this fight. We're going to see that there's the 2 different Zenos who are setting this tournament up, I guess, with Goku kind of like, you know, wanting to initiate the tournament in the first place, because Goku always wants to fight regardless of the horrible consequences that will be revolving around it. And we also see that, you know, it seems that perhaps the losers in this tournament from the different universes may have their universes actually destroyed, which is why this is known as the Universal Survival Arc, which is also, again, a very interesting concept. And that, of course, leads into the stakes of this arc, which certainly it seems like the universe itself being destroyed has greater stakes than perhaps just having an Earth swapped with another Earth in 2 different universes. Even though I feel like under Champa's rule, it might have ended up having a much worse situation. They'd be cut off from the Dragon Balls from their universe, so there might not be any Dragon Balls at all, and that kind of would be some stakes. The stakes in this arc certainly have upped the ante, and that's something that we really need in Dragon Ball Super, because up until this past arc with Zamasu and, you know, them destroying all the gods, there weren't really that many stakes that really were truly effective to where everything would come to an end like in Dragon Ball Z, except for in the first arc, the Battle of Gods arc, just because Beerus was going to destroy the Earth and nobody could really do anything to stop him. Now, Frieza did destroy the Earth in the Resurrection F arc, but it was never in doubt that the Earth could be brought back. You know, they could just use the Namekian Dragon Balls. Any, you know, Beerus or Whis could easily beat Frieza, and really Frieza was always at a disadvantage since the beginning, because even when he was stronger than Goku and everyone else, he still was getting so weakened that it didn't even matter and the tension was pretty much gone. So it'll be interesting if the tension is really high in this arc, because it makes sense, but at the same time, I do kind of wonder if the tonal inconsistencies, that being the problems with maintaining a tone, may also show up in this arc, because if this arc has all the stakes of every universe will be destroyed except for the winner's universe, well then obviously that's going to, you know, not be allowing for a lot of happy-go-lucky scenes and interactions and all this other stuff that will likely probably happen nonetheless. I mean, that's one of the biggest issues with Dragon Ball GT, for example. You know, they're trying to have all these happy-go-lucky fun adventures and, you know, this slice of life stuff when the Earth is going to explode at, like, you know, within a year's time. So it really is a contradictory tone. So we really don't want to see that happen again in Dragon Ball Super, especially with this arc, because for all we know, this is going to be the last arc of Dragon Ball Super. I mean, what can they really do after this? You know, after, like, a god blowing up all these other universes and, you know, pretty much seeing all the best fighters of the other universes, what could they really do after this point except have, like, a Crisis on Infinite Earths type of situation? And if 11 of the 12 universes are gone, well, that's going to be kind of hard to pull off. But I feel like in terms of this arc coming up, like, if it is the last arc, I really truly hope it's going to be great, and I really truly hope they're going to use the characters in ways that actually matter. You know, Gohan is coming back now finally again to fight. He looks like he's back in his ultimate state. Hopefully Super will do a better job of explaining how powerful he is and how powerful he's become, so I don't have to keep making videos where people tell me he's weaker than Goku on Namek despite clear, obvious, logical reasoning why he's not. And you could check out that video on my channel, How Strong is Gohan in Dragon Ball Super, because apparently it's going to be incredibly relevant again if Gohan starts to actually be used properly and start kicking butt. But at the same time, when we think about the teams that are comprised, it seems like there's a really big difference in strength. I mean, Goku and Vegeta at this point in their base forms could arguably beat every single other member of the team, and then they could transform 4 other times on top of that, well, at least Goku can, into their Super Saiyan Blue forms. So every other character is at a gigantic disadvantage. Boo, even Piccolo and Gohan right now It's certainly 17 and 18, like, there's no indication that they've gotten stronger since the Buu saga, and the humans themselves have not been in Goku's league, even since the Cell saga, or even since the end of the Frieza saga. So, realistically, unless they're going to have a wide range and wide array of fighting powers on display at this tournament, people that these characters can actually stack up to themselves and have good fights with, I feel like that it's going to be another situation like the Universe 6 tournament, where Goku and Vegeta are really the only ones who could actually win in the end, and Goku and Vegeta are the only ones who could just pretty much one-shot every other member of the team, because when you think about it, even if the other characters are more rounded down to the other characters on this team's power level, for example, like a character that's on Buu's level, a character who's on Krillin's level, even a character who's on Master Roshi's level, well, Goku and Vegeta could just flick them away with one finger, their pinky finger at this point, in their base forms. So, again, it'll just be like Goku and Vegeta can pretty much one-shot every other member of the team, so hopefully they'll kind of maybe bring in more techniques and more interesting elements like that to change this up. Now, I guess we don't really know the format of this tournament yet. I mean, maybe it's going to be something really similar to the Universe 6 and 7 tournament, where, it's pretty much the person who's in the ring fights until there's no more fighting. Although, honestly, for me, I'd like to either see something more akin to the original Dragon Ball tournaments, where we had preliminaries and we had multiple, rounds in which everything builds up to, the final match. Or perhaps we could have something like Yu Yu Hakusho's Dark Tournament arc, where every single fight is a team fight and a team effort. Now, every single member doesn't have to fight in every single fight, because, they didn't have to do it in Yu Yu Hakusho, and they still executed all of the characters perfectly well. But it would be more interesting if all of the endings come down to a team effort, and it's not just Goku and Vegeta pretty much just curb stomping everyone, and then, there's this ultimate villain nobody else can be except for Goku when he goes Kaioken times 20 blue, and then he has to fuse into Vegeta times 20 blue, and, then they have to fuse with everyone on the team into 10 times fusion just to beat him. Although, actually, maybe that last one would be a little bit better, because it wouldn't just be Goku and Vegeta beating everyone, it would be everyone teaming up together. But then again, why don't they just have Buu absorb all of them into his body, gain all of their powers, and just have Buu solo everyone? I don't know, but that's not going to happen probably, so I feel like I just want this to be where all the characters matter, all the characters are used properly, especially if this is the send-off for Dragon Ball Super, because let's have our favorite characters, and everyone has their own favorite character on this list and on this team. Let's have them matter, let's have them accomplish something, and once again, let's not just have everything come down to Goku and Vegeta can just beat everyone in the end, and that's pretty much it, because that will be boring and tensionless and the complete opposite of what we really want to see in the series. And I want to see the opposite of that, because I want to see this series really be as good as Dragon Ball Z, and as Dragon Ball, and really rise to that level. But we'll have to wait and see. This might not be the last arc, it might just be the beginning, really. This series might go on for a lot longer than any of us expect, but hopefully if it does, it gets better and better, and this series will really be redeemed by this arc, because that's what I'm sure all of us really want as fans of this franchise. So let me know your own thoughts down below in the comments section, what you think about this. Do you think that Dragon Ball Super will be redeemed by this new arc? Do you think this new arc will really be better than every arc that's come before it in Dragon Ball Super and Dragon Ball maybe as a whole? I mean, I'm sure there's some people who think maybe this has the potential to be the best arc ever. I guess it possibly could, depending upon how it's written. But, let me know your own thoughts down below as to whether or not you think that it will be redeemed, or whether or not it even needs to be redeemed, because I'm sure some people love everything we've seen so far in Super. Me personally, I want this series to get even better. Some people think it's as good as it's gonna get, some people just accept it, and some people just think it's already as good as it's gonna get. Some people think it can't get any better than this. But let me know your own thoughts down below in the comments section. And if you like this video, make sure to hit the subscribe button and notifications so that you can subscribe to my channel totally free and see all of the content I put out weekly for Dragon Ball, for movies, and for a wide variety of content that I like to put out. So hit that subscribe button so you can see all those videos videos as they come out right away. And as I always say, stick around, because there's a lot more to come in the future.
And you better subscribe!